So I've been getting a lot of requests because if you know, I know how to maintain a vehicle. I could get a car with high mileage, drive it for a few more miles and sell it usually for probably more than what I paid for. And the reason is because I maintain my vehicles pretty good. So today I actually have I'm actually in my 2016 Hellcat Challenger, and we're about to take a drive. You know what I'll do is I just noticed some big speed bumps ahead, so what we'll do is let's try to avoid those speed bumps ahead. There's security behind me. So again, this will just be a little drive along video that we're going to make. So we're actually in Houston right now. We're actually in the River Oaks. If you don't know it, look it up. It's an amazing area. So again, how do you make your car last again up to 1 million miles? It's possible. The first stuff you got to do is you always have to do your maintenance. That's very important. But not just that, is that you want to do your maintenance according to the manufacturer's recommendation. So I've seen a lot of people, they go to a dealership or just a local shop, and they'll be like, oh man, so you gotta do an oil change and you gotta do it every 3,000 miles. Like, again, like I said, not every car, again, they might say 3,000, 5,000, 6,000. Again, not every car is built the same. Like, again, like I said, you have to go by the manufacturer's recommendation, because they're the ones that made this car, you know, like they did a lot of research when they were developing this car. Another stuff you gotta do is you have to do your tune-up. Whenever the manufacturer recommends, your car does not have to be experiencing issues for you to do so. As long as you, let's say you're supposed to do a tune-up at 100,000 miles, at 100,000 miles, or even before 100,000 miles, just like start saving up the money so you can go ahead and get that tune-up done. So again, with this vehicle, the tune-up was probably going to cost me about $1,500, because the spark plugs themselves, again, the spark plugs are very expensive, and not only are they very expensive, but this vehicle is actually a V8, but it takes 16 spark plugs. So we're looking at more than $30 per spark plugs if you decide to get it from the manufacturer. So again, if you don't want to get it with the markup price, what you can always do is you can always just go to the manufacturer, give them your VIN number, or not the manufacturer, the dealership, give them your VIN number, and they'll pull up the spark plug that your vehicle requires with the part number. And you can always just go home and look up that exact same part using the part number. Again, just make sure that you buy this part from a website that you could trust. Just make sure it is exactly the same part and not the counterfeit. So again, with the maintenance, those are the two major stuff that we usually have to like pay attention to. So now we can always dive into other stuff. So stuff like your brake. So again, when replacing your brake pads, make sure you just don't get the cheapest one they have. Always go for like the especially if you're not using your car for like towing or heavy lifting or racing, go for the ceramic. They're quieter, they produce a lot less dust, and they get less hot, you know. Go for the ceramic, replace those. They last a little bit longer than the semi-metallics or the metallic ones. And if you have the money, you can always just, especially if you have the money, oh damn, that's Ferrari. If you have the money and you have like a high performance vehicle, you can always go with the carbon fiber brake pads. But again, those are very expensive. Again, with technology changing, maybe the price might have dropped. So that's actually what I have in the front of my vehicle, because I wanted something that produces less dust. I was a little bit quieter, and again, I'm not really using my car for like extreme racing, or like I'm not putting it to the limit. So again, it's okay for me to replace them with ceramic. So another stuff you could do is make sure you check on your transmission. Again, with these new vehicles, you might not even need to replace your transmission fluid. I mean, you're supposed to, but most of them have like a closed system where the manufacturer like does it in such a way that it lasts for the life of the car. If that's the case, you don't really have to worry about it. If you've driven it too much, I probably will actually not even recommend you replacing it, because again, if some of the parts are worn out, then taking out some of the debris from the fluid might start making the transmission slip. And again, the transmission is probably one of the most important stuff in the vehicle. You can always replace the engine, do maintenance to the engine. With your transmission, you have to take care of it, you know. So with that said, always make sure you go easy on the vehicle, you know. Like, you don't always have to like rev your engine, rev the RPM. You don't always have to shift like gears like aggressively, because I mean, yeah, it's fun, but again, you're putting so much stress on that transmission, or you're putting so much stress on that engine. Again, the cars are designed to withstand some of those, but just for a period of time. If you want it to, again, if you want your car to last a very long time, then those are some of the stuff you gotta like control. So another stuff will be, again, this is not just like pretty much a video about like, how do I put it, making your car last forever, but also how to like do other stuff that could decrease the rate in which your vehicle actually depreciates. So, you know, buying a car like this, as soon as you leave the lot, you've probably depreciated it by a lot. By 5 years, you're probably looking at the 40% depreciation. So at that point, the car is probably worth more to you than it is if you were to sell it. And at that point, you actually maybe might not want to sell the car, because what will be the point of selling the car and losing money? So what you can always do is you can always maintain the interior of your vehicle really nice. For example, like, you could take a look at this interior. If somebody was to even come and buy this car, just by looking at it, they could tell like, man, this guy took really good care of their car. And no, I'm not just pretending to maintain the vehicle. The fact is, if you could take really good care of the interior of your vehicle, chances are you took really good care of like the mechanical parts of your vehicles. Another stuff too that you gotta do is, with some of the modifications that you can do to your car, is you want to only do modifications that would like, how do I put it, that are not just there for show. For example, right here I have performance springs. They're great, they make the car look really nice, the car handles a lot better, but then the issues with performance springs is that they're too hard, so you pretty much feel all the bumps on the road. And again, with that much vibration coming to your vehicle, you might start having issues with your bushings going out due to like the hard springs and stuff. And not only that, sometimes with these performance springs, they usually come a lot shorter, they lower the car. So again, if you lower your car, then what happens is you're actually like going to start driving it a lot careful, because if you drive anywhere where there are speed bumps, then there might even be some speed bumps you might not be able to like drive over. So again, another stuff you gotta do is make sure with every maintenance you do to your vehicle, just make sure you keep the paperwork, just in case you decide to sell this vehicle. By having the paperwork with you will usually increase the value of your vehicle. The reason I said that is because customers or potential buyers feel confident when buying a used car when they could see all the maintenance you've done to it. Because the whole point of buying a used car is to save money. So what's the point of trying to save money if you just buy a car that will end up having so many other issues? So again, make sure you keep all the paperwork, make sure you do your maintenance, make sure you fix issues before they become bigger issues. For example, if you start hearing a sound or vibration, go check it out. Again, make sure, like, if you decide to take your car to a dealership, remember, not all dealerships quote you the exact same price. Make sure you go to multiple dealerships, get quotes, and then compare it. So if you do not want to go to a dealership, just make sure you go to a mechanic shop, especially somebody you could trust, because there's some mechanics that will go to the junkyard and get you used parts. So again, I personally will rather buy my parts, and again, I'll make sure I buy like the parts that the vehicle maker, for example, this is a moper, or the parts are made by moper, I'll make sure I buy a moper part. If I'm going with aftermarket, I also make sure I go with aftermarket parts that could be trusted. So again, these are just some tips on how to like make your car like last almost 1,000. What am I saying? 1,000? I was about to say 1,000 miles. I'm thinking like make your car last 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles. And again, if you could maintain your car pretty well, you could make any car hit the 1 million mark. And again, if you found this video interesting, go ahead and hit that like button, and also make sure you subscribe. And thanks you guys.